Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Walk and Talk, the dog training podcast that has well and truly got your back when it comes to helping you live your very best life with your dog. I hope you're all doing okay now that we are right in the thick of December. How is everybody coping? Have you finished your Christmas shopping? Have you started your Christmas shopping? Are we trying not to think about the Christmas shopping because it brings on a cold sweat and the shakes? Apologies, by the way, if you find all this Christmas talk triggering. I hope not, because the topic of this week's episode is actually Christmas, I'm afraid. But if you don't really like thinking about Christmas because you just find it really stressful, hopefully you will enjoy this episode, because my goal today is to make your Christmas easier in the only way that I know how, and that is to help you get your dog ready for it. Yes, this episode is all about helping you create the calmest, easiest Christmas with your dog that you have ever had. And that this week is my Christmas gift to you. In the show notes, there will also be a link to a free, completely free, you don't even have to give your email address or anything, free downloadable cheat sheet, like I did with the scent work episode, if you remember that a month or two back. So you can fully feel prepared and armed to set yourself up for a wonderful festive celebration this year, okay? Even though we're only about 2 weeks out from the big day, please don't panic. That is too late. That is plenty of time, plenty to change how your dog experiences this time of year. And honestly, once you understand the brain and behavior side of all this, you're going to realize how much influence you truly have and just how awesome you can make December 25th this year. Okay. And just to check in at the top of this episode, if you're not sure if this is for you or not, let's do a little litmus test, right? So tell me how relatable this picture is. So you're sat at home, you're waiting for everyone to arrive, the house is warm, all the twinkly Christmas lights are on, there's cinnamon and cloves in the air, maybe you've got a mulled wine going, maybe it's a Baileys, and your dog is laying down beautifully by the Christmas tree, all calm and peaceful and festive in their little Christmas jumper maybe. And then the doorbell rings, and your dog absolutely detonates. Like they have been training for this moment all year. They're barking, spinning, they're vibrating, they're going crazy. And someone's suddenly having to juggle a tray of mince pies like their life depends on it. It's carnage. If that image is even remotely familiar, you are in exactly the right place, because Christmas, from your dog's perspective, is basically a neurological assault course. If you wanted to design a scenario that naturally dysregulates a dog, you would accidentally design Christmas Day. Think about it, right? There is novelty everywhere. The usual routine, the daily routine, that is completely out of the window. You have more than likely got visitors coming and going. So there's new people, there's the doorbell, there's all of that stuff. There's also wrapping paper. That's extremely novel if you think about it. There's music, there's loads of noise, there's all these food smells. There's probably food itself absolutely everywhere. There's children running around, they are high as kites. And there is so much high energy and excitement in the air that it is palpable. It is a lot. And dogs are biologically wired to notice and register and respond to novelty and change. Their nervous systems are constantly asking basically these two questions: is this safe? And what should I do about it? And at Christmas, given everything that's kicking off around them, those two questions basically never switch off. And the mistake most people make is thinking, oh, my dog is being naughty at Christmas. But the truth is so much simpler and so much kinder, right? Your dog is not being naughty. Your dog is epically dysregulated. They're most likely in a sympathetic nervous system state. That's the switched on, activated, excitable part of the nervous system. And once they're in that state, the behaviors people struggle with make perfect sense. uh, Barking at visitors is a natural response to uncertainty. Jumping up is a natural response to overexcitement. Stealing food is a natural response to opportunity when it is combined with higher arousal levels. And difficulty settling is just the byproduct of a nervous system that doesn't have the skills yet to come down quickly and self-regulate. So what we're going to be doing in these next 2 weeks isn't really fixing bad behavior. I don't really want you to look at it like that, but we're going to be building emotional regulation. And once you build regulation, everything else gets so much easier. So let's talk about how we do that. The first thing I want you to think about is creating a safe space in your home. And it can be just a corner, it can be a whole room, it can be a crate, it can be a pen, anything. And that becomes your dog's Christmas sanctuary. So, this is going to be a place where their nervous system can drop, where the stimulation goes down, where they can just exhale. Because most dogs genuinely struggle at Christmas time because they never get that break. They're like on duty, as it were, all day long. There's new smells, there's new sounds, there's new people, there's no routine, and they're just absorbing all of it. Because we know, right, that dogs are emotional sponges. They pick up everything. So giving them a predictable, cozy little den where absolutely nothing unpredictable happens in that space is one of the most powerful things you can do. So that is at the top of your list. If I were just brainstorming this out loud now for my house, it would be my conservatory, because that room can be gated off, closed off from the rest of the house. No visitors would ever need to go in there. I would be able to access the dogs. They would be able to see me. They wouldn't feel like they were being shut away, but that would be their space where there were going to be no intrusions. There wouldn't be any screaming children. There wouldn't be any unwrapping of presents. It could all be kept really calm in there. So that's just an example from my perspective. You might have like a little utility room. Like I said, it could just be a pen, it could be a crate, whatever works for you. And once you've defined that space, for the next couple of weeks, so the run up to Christmas now, you're going to start using that space regularly. So it's not going to be like a new thing. Bam, I'm just going to shut you in here on Christmas Day. That's wild. What you're going to do is you're going to start using it now. So you're going to start feeding them meals in there. You're going to start giving them some really nice high value chews in there or treats. You're going to let them nap in there. You're going to make it a place that means to your dog. So you're going to build this contextual meaning for them through repeated exposures that fit with this, that they believe, oh, okay, this is where I relax. This is where I feel good. This is where I feel safe. This is where I'm calm. This is where I chill. You are building an association that will pay off massively when Christmas actually arrives. And whilst we're talking about setup, let's also talk about exercise, because this is one of the biggest mistakes dog owners make every single Christmas. So often people just think, okay, so I've got an over the top, adolescent, energetic young Labrador. You know what? I just need to exhaust him before the guests arrive. Just need to wear him out. So what happens? Normally dad, gets nominated to do a huge high arousal, like high intensity dog walk. They go somewhere, they play the world's longest game of back to back fetch, or they let the dog zoom around with another dog at the park for as long as possible, thinking that the magical crash is going to come straight after. But what that actually does is flood their system with adrenaline. And yes, granted, they might be tired for a little while, but actually, adrenaline rebounds. It spikes back up, and it won't spike back up from zero. It'll spike back up from already a heightened state. And guess when it does that? When the doorbell rings, when your guests arrive, when it all kicks off. So, if your plan has always been tire the dog out, just exhaust them so that they will behave, they will chill, I want you to switch that mindset now. Instead of tiring them out, we want to regulate them. So, of course, they need that nice long morning walk, right? But think sniffy, decompression style walking. This is going to serve you so much better. Natural movement, just investigating, sniffing, walking, keeping it like really chill, not really high intensity. So wandering around, let them choose their pace, let them stop and sniff. Don't think, oh my God, I need to get like 3 miles through this dog. If they want to stop and sniff every little thing, let them stop and sniff every little thing. That's what sets you up for a calmer dog later. I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying restrict your dog's exercise. Of course, they need their exercise, especially if you have got a high energy working breed. But I am saying don't go extra crazy with it today with the goal of exhaustion induced compliance because it's unlikely really to go how you want it to. Now, one of my absolute favorite things to teach in the run up to Christmas, and if you followed me for a while, you will know I'm low key a bit obsessed with this, is pattern games. So, pattern games are incredible for building emotional stability because they activate the part of the brain that loves predictability. Dogs get really overwhelmed when they don't know what to expect next. And obviously, like I've already said, as we all well know, Christmas is chock full of unpredictability. Pattern games can create a tiny pocket of certainty in the middle of all of that chaos. And even just 2 or 3 minutes a day makes a real difference to your dog. It could be something like a simple up and down pattern where you ask for eye contact and then you drop a treat and then you wait for eye contact again and you drop a treat and you repeat this. Or you're just practicing a cue, like you practice the middle position, you release them, you do middle and you release, or the 1, 2, 3 engagement game, or a little trick sequence that you just repeat in every room of the house. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. And if you don't know, by the way, what any of these games are, there's like little video tutorials for most of them on my Instagram account. So you can go and take a look at Listen Dog Training. If you're not already following, I won't hold it against you, but you definitely should. But yeah, it doesn't matter which one you choose to work with. What matters is that your dog practices regulating their arousal through a familiar structure. Okay, the next thing I want you to practice is something I call the settle reflex. Now, this is not a cue. This isn't you telling your dog to settle. It's you teaching their body to associate calmness with reward so that settling becomes an internal positive state, a physiological response. And the way you do this is so gentle. So just literally sit with your dog on a blanket or a mat and say nothing. Don't try and lure them. Don't try and cue them. Don't try and like shape anything. Just wait. And for maximum success here, I would recommend that you choose a time that your dog is likely to settle anyway. So make sure they've already had their walk and their meal and all of that jazz. So it's incredibly likely they're ready to settle down, okay? And the moment your dog softens, even just a little bit, maybe they lay down, maybe they just shift their weight over to the side, maybe they do a big sigh, maybe their muscles just soften, you just really quietly place a little treat between their paws and there's no other interaction. And what you're doing with that is reinforcing the body state of relaxation. And over time, you are conditioning the nervous system to slip into parasympathetic activity far more easily and naturally. And that is gold at Christmas time. Okay, so now on to the Goliath of Christmas issues. Let's talk about visitors because this is definitely where a lot of dogs unravel. And again, this isn't naughtiness, this is social pressure meeting high arousal, meeting total unpredictability. Most dogs have absolutely no idea what to do when the doorbell rings. They're not being disobedient, they simply haven't been given a job. So, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to practice a really simple visitor ritual. Okay, it goes like this. Before the visitor enters, your dog goes off to their little sanctuary space that you've already set up. Okay, they get a scatter of treats, a handful of kibble, a long lasting chew, something nice like that. The visitor comes in without interacting with the dog. They sit down. And only when everything is calm do you invite your dog to come and say hello if you want them to. They don't have to. And what this does is shape your dog's expectation. Visitors come in calmly. This is a calm thing that happens. My job is to chill in here until the energy is level, and then I get to choose to interact. If your dog is a big barker when the doorbell goes, there's a protocol you can start using today that works beautifully. Okay. And it's just basically, thank you, that's enough. So when they bark, instead of doing what most people do and just getting cross or panicking and shouting over the top of them and getting really frustrated, you simply say in a really calm voice, thank you, that's enough. And then, really importantly, because your dog doesn't actually know what thank you, that's enough means yet, you go and check. So you walk to the door or the window or wherever they are, like you are verifying the alert that they've given you. And then you come back to your dog with a totally neutral energy. And what you are communicating is, okay, thank you. Like, you've alerted me. I've checked. It's all good. You've done your job. I've seen it. You can stand down. Like, that's it done. And this reduces the emotional intensity massively because it tells the dog their alert has been received. And you'd be amazed how many dogs just bark and bark and bark because they're like sat there essentially saying, hello, are you gonna like check this shit out or what? Something crazy's going on outside and no one is paying any attention. But nobody ever does. Nobody ever actually says, okay, all right, you're telling me, I'll go and look. No, dude, it's cool, it's fine. And so the dog just escalates and it turns into this really crazy high energy moment that it doesn't need to be. Now, another really common Christmas problem is actually jumping up at guests. And again, dogs jump because they don't know what else to do with all that social excitement. So instead of trying to stop the jumping, give your dog a replacement behavior. Maybe it's putting them in the middle position. Maybe it's a hand target. Maybe it's grabbing a toy. You want to practice this with literally anyone who comes into your house for the next 2 weeks, like delivery people, neighbors, friends. Everyone becomes training practice. And what you'll have by Christmas is a dog whose muscle memory defaults to a calmer, more structured greeting. Okay, let's also quickly talk about food stealing, which I know can be another common problem for some people because Christmas is basically the Olympics of temptation. There's turkey, there's cheese boards, there's pigs in blankets, there's leftover plates everywhere, all around your house. I mean, the whole house basically becomes a buffet. And dogs are dogs, right? So they follow scent and they follow opportunity, they follow reinforcement. And if it works once, of course they'll try it again. So the kindest thing you can do during this season is to prevent temptation rather than constantly having to correct your dog. And as a little Brucey bonus, if you have relatives who cannot resist feeding your dog, even when you tell them not to, is she speaking from experience? Quite possibly. Just give them a little dog safe treat jar. Just have like a little jar of kibble or treats on the side and say, look, if you want to give him something, please just give him something from here, but ask him to sit first or send him to his bed first. Just, make him do something. Don't just reward him for hounding you. People are so much more compliant when they know exactly what the boundaries are and you make those boundaries clear. Okay, so I've talked a lot about all the big, excited energy of Christmas, but now let's flip it a bit because for some dogs, Christmas isn't actually about excitement at all. It's actually about anxiety. Dogs who struggle with visitors or visitors staying overnight in their space. Dogs who get stressed when people are walking around the house late at night. This isn't normal. Dogs who feel unsettled by the change in the routine. For these dogs, predictability becomes the anchor. So, a simple bedtime routine practiced consistently for the next 2 weeks and then carried on over the festive period will make the world of difference. So, lower the lights, offer them a chew, take them to their sanctuary space, keep the energy calm, tell your visitors to give your dog the space they need. It really doesn't have to be complicated, it just has to be predictable. Dogs thrive with predictability, nervous dogs especially. So, okay, so let's pull this together now into what your Christmas day could actually look like when all this groundwork is in place. Okay, so you'll wake up on Christmas Day and you will take your dog on a calm, sniffy, chilled out walk. Nothing too stimulating, just a long old episode of decompression, right? You might need it as well. Yeah, it depends what you've been doing on Christmas Eve. I don't know. And when you get home, breakfast is delivered in an enriching way that just helps them relax. So maybe it's a slow feeder, or you've prepped something frozen on a licky mat, and then you do a little bit of pattern work, just 2 or 3 minutes. And then off they go into their sanctuary space for a cozy little nap or a chill out. And when visitors arrive, your dog goes behind the baby gate or back into that sanctuary space with something nice to enjoy, like a chew or a Kong, while all of the humans come in and settle down. And once the energy is calm, your dog gets the opportunity to come out and do their little meet and greet if they want to. And during the busiest, most hectic parts of the day, so think cooking, the present opening, the kids running around, your dog just dips in and out of their safe space as needed, right? You can judge that. So you're keeping their nervous system balanced instead of letting them get overwhelmed. And by the evening, instead of being totally wired and on edge, they're actually genuinely relaxed. You get a peaceful Christmas and they get a Christmas they can actually cope with. And the beauty of all of this is that none of it relies on force or punishment or drilling your dog. It's all about creating an environment, a routine, and a set of skills that help your dog regulate their emotions. Because once you understand that behavior really is downstream of their emotional state, everything becomes so much more effective. And the best part of all this is that 2 weeks is long enough if you're going to commit to it and you're going to do the work. Truly, if you start today, and I hope you do, you can shape this Christmas into something genuinely lovely for both you and your dog and everyone who's joining you. Calmness is trained, it is conditioned, it is created, and you absolutely can create it if you're willing to do a little bit of work. Okay, right, my lovelies. That is your festive survival strategy, all wrapped up in shiny Christmas wrapping paper for you to take and run with. And don't forget, there will be a printable cheat sheet in the show notes of this episode that you can print out and stick on the fridge as well. And if you do try any of these things, please let me know how you get on. Message me on Instagram or tag me in your stories of your chilled out dog chilling out in their little doggy cave. I truly, truly do love hearing about all of your wins. And also, if you know someone who you think would really benefit in giving this episode a listen now in the run up to a potentially chaotic Christmas, let's say, we don't know, by all means, just send them this episode. Spread the festive cheer. What a good deed that would be. And if you want more support, moving through Christmas and into the new year, more training help, more insights, more advice, you know where to find me, and all of my guided courses, training packs, all of the resources, everything is at listendogtraining.com. But for now, I shall love you and leave you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your dog walk. And I will see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.